Hey everybody, it's Deborah with Flipping 50 and the Flipping 50 podcast. And I am here with my friends Jayson and Mira Calton. And so many of you already are going to feel like you know them because if you've gone through a Flipping 50 program, you know that nutrients, one of their products, they are the dynamic duo behind Calton Nutrition, is one of my favorite multivitamins to recommend. You'll find it at flipping50.com/resources every day of the year. So welcome you two for being here, first of all.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you,
so much for
Deborah.
having us.
We're so
And
excited. Yeah.
we can just sit and look at you because you both are so darn pretty.
Well, I guess we'll take that as a plus.
You're pretty good looking
Yeah,
too, I will say.
Definitely it's a plus. And so I love everything you're up to. I love your first two books personally for background and resource knowledge for myself, but you have a brand new baby and it's due right now. So
Yes.
let's talk about your brand new title about osteoporosis and the mission you've got behind it. Rebuild your bones, 12-week osteoporosis protocol. So I know everybody out there listening and watching, you're all over this. We're all over it. We know when we get to our 50s, we've watched our parents age, we've watched their posture, and a lot of us we may have had a first fall or fracture, a reason to find out we've got low bone density, and we're concerned we're trying to do everything we can. But I want to open up with Myra's story. And actually, the two of you, this is such a Valentine's Day story. So I'm thinking you probably should have published then. But, the two of you met because Myra, you had osteoporosis and you were how old?
I was 30 when I was diagnosed with advanced osteoporosis.
Crazy.
So the first doctor told me I had the bone density of an 80-year-old woman at the age of 30. So you can just imagine how absolutely shocked and devastated and angry and confused I was. I mean, I had absolutely, they didn't test me for a DEXA scan early on because people don't get DEXA scans for bone density at that age.
Right.
I wish that people would start doing it so that they could learn earlier if they are having bone density issues. But by the time I went in, I had advanced osteoporosis. And it was horrifying. The reason that we wrote this book, Rebuild Your Bones, is because this is the information that, in a nutshell, I wish somebody had given me. Because I spun my wheels before I met Dr. Calton for 2 years trying to look at anything I could come up with that had to do with bones. And all the doctor told me was calcium. So I was like, okay. I started looking at calcium, I guess.
What year was that? When you were diagnosed? What year was it?
Oh my goodness. So I was 30. I can do my age this way. I was 30, so that would have been 2001.
Yeah. So we were really, I remember just beginning to talk about osteoporosis to audiences in about 95. So we were still like in infancy about what do we do with this, right?
Oh, the doctors were clueless. I went to see every specialist in Manhattan. I mean, luckily I had a great doctor. He sent me to rheumatologists, endocrinologists, to every type of doctor they could possibly send me to try to figure out why. And they came back with a big question mark. None of them had any idea. And now working with Dr. Collier, we know now why I got it. And we put the dots together and put it all together. But I spun my wheels for 2 years working on my own, didn't get anywhere, couldn't figure it out. Luckily, I met him. We were not yet married. And we got so excited about the research that we were doing and putting into figuring out my bones that we were both turned on by research and a little turned on by each other. And she reversed my osteoporosis and I got a bonus husband.
Right, I got the bonus, obviously. I think.
So yeah, 15 years, osteoporosis, 15 years now, osteoporosis free. So that's what we're trying to get across to everyone else. We want people to understand that take this time to find out your bone density. And if you do have poor bone density, or if you just want to prevent it in the first place, take the information in here and, and learn for yourself what steps to take.
Well, and such a great message of hope, because I think before this, potentially, it's like, okay, well, I've got it. Now I just have this long list of things that I can't do. I
Right.
shouldn't do. I'm in a bubble. and you're saying rebuild your bone. So let's talk about that in the hope and the protocol. So without giving it all away.
Sure. Well, first, what I want to say is that because a lot of times when people see the cover of the book, they see the Rebuild Your Bones 12-week osteoporosis protocol. You cannot rebuild your bones in 12 weeks. This is the 12-week on-ramp to the healthy lifestyle that's going to get you there, right? It took us 2 years to reverse.
There's a lot of Facebook groups talking about that subtitle right there, and not understanding that we're not fixing you in 12 weeks. So good idea to make that clear.
Yeah. The other thing I really want to make a point of is, the medical communities oftentimes will still tell people who are diagnosed with osteoporosis that it's irreversible. But I want to talk a little bit about why we don't think it's irreversible. And in fact, it's not irreversible. And that's because, with osteoporosis, I think we're still thinking about old day osteoporosis, not what science is now telling us about it, which is that it's a lifestyle disease. It's a lot like type 2 diabetes. And I love to do a comparison with it because 20 years ago, type 2 diabetes was called adult onset diabetes, right?
Right.
So adults getting it, kids almost never got it. In fact, there was almost no cases of children getting it. Fast forward to today, we don't even call it adult onset anymore. It's just type 2 diabetes. Over 132,000 children in America have type 2 diabetes. And we absolutely know it's a lifestyle disease, and we can prevent it and reverse it without medication with the proper lifestyle. Enter osteoporosis. It's no longer old age osteoporosis, right? It's not 70 and 80-year-olds getting it. It's young people in their 30s, 20s, men, children even. And so we know the same thing. We know that through proper diet, lifestyle, and supplementation, we can prevent and reverse it even without medication. So that's really the hope that we want to talk about. And we want to, one of the big things that we have to understand when we're trying to reverse it is that science shows us that it's not just calcium and vitamin D and vitamin K. Of course, you and I know that, but a lot of people who get it, they're like Mira said, the doctors start them with calcium or one of these things.
Yeah.
What we found, science has proven again and again, we need to be sufficient in every one of our essential micronutrients if we're going to build bone and then maintain it as we continue to age, right? And we have to be sufficient in them every single day. So that's kind of where we started the protocol.
Yeah, and our big thing is micronutrient sufficiency. We are the geeks out. We are total geeks when it comes to vitamins and minerals, amino acids, and essential fatty acids. That's our little playground that we love to live in. And that's because that's exactly what it took, getting sufficient in order for me to rebuild my bones. That's why I love them so much, because I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm walking around because I am sufficient in my micronutrients. And anyone for any health problem that they're currently having needs to make sure they're getting those vitamin minerals. But this book focuses on the 3-step plan to building that state of micronutrient sufficiency for bone health. And it's in every single micronutrient, A to Z, but we do 3 steps. We do food first because, we're not looking to substitute and just take a pill and feel better. We understood, I know you do, that it's what you're putting into your mouth every day. So we're food first people.
Or not, right?
Right, or not in a lot of cases. And also we believe that, and you can do it following any sort of diet you want. So if you're a carnivore, if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, we say, look, you should know what your diet's strengths are and what your diet's pitfalls are where bone health is concerned.
Yeah.
We give an entire chapter where we review each diet plan and talk about how that could help or hinder your bones, what the studies say, so that you can at least go in with total awareness as to what your dietary choice is doing. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's step 1. Step 2 is to drive down depletion from your lifestyle habits that might be hindering you. And step 3 is smart supplementation.
So let's go back to lifestyle habits. Throw out an example.
Well, lifestyle habits could be stress. It could be exercise. I think a lot of times when we get diagnosed with osteoporosis, our doctor tells us to do weight-bearing exercise, right? Well, that's great, but one of the things we don't want people to do a lot of is these super heavy cardios. Mira was one of these cardio queens, right? She's out there sweating. People don't understand that your electrolytes are your bone-building micronutrients, calcium, magnesium, phosphate, all these different things. So when we're sweating a lot.
I think I heard you just say, not so much cardio.
Yes.
I'm hearing that. Are you hearing that? Okay.
Stop being a cardio queen. It is not good for your bones.
Right.
1980 called and wants that back. Okay.
We want that back. And so we want you to do the right type of that weight-bearing exercise. And we go into the book exactly how to do that.
We also talk about things like stress. I don't think people realize how stress is so significant for your bones. because it affects your hormones. So, you know, in times of stress, your cortisol levels rise. And cortisol actually blocks calcium.
Yeah.
Blocks calcium from it being able to do its job in osteoblastic functions, building bones. So we want to make sure that we learn how to de-stress. We give you all sorts of clues like that. But in lifestyle segment, we have 17 of our healing habits are revealed. So the book gives you 40. Sorry, I almost blocked a few out there. 40 healing habits that you get to learn along all 3 of the different steps. Each of them works kind of like to teach you a little lesson that science has proven will help or heal bones. So there's 17 of them in the lifestyle section alone. So there's a lot of lifestyle: stress, sleep, your cell phone. And people, okay, ladies, put the cell phone in the purse. Put the cell phone in the purse. Don't be carrying it in your pocket.
Wear it. Yes.
Put it away. First of all, it's just good for your relationship.
Yeah.
To put the phone away.
Right.
But I mean, that's another one people don't think about. And the studies show, wear it on your waist and your hip bones are deteriorating.
Yes. We see a lot of that with the men. They carry
Yeah.
around their cell phones almost as if it was like a
Yeah,
gun
100%.
holster or something right on that hip. And,
Yeah.
you know, at least women are putting it in their purses. So that's that
Hopefully.
one step away. But a lot of the men's keep it right on their hip. And I think that, you know, again, with men's getting osteoporosis now at higher and higher rates, they have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
I sometimes work with, bikers, women who are competing, doing triathlons, but they're on a bike for a long time, which is unloaded, not weight bearing.
Right.
But they also put that phone right back here on their lower back
Oh,
for hours, right?
See?
Yeah.
Right on that hip.
it's just such a negative to the bones. So we go through all these different lifestyle habits. One of the lifestyle habits that, regardless of which dietary protocol you're following, so we call your dietary protocol actually part of life, because as you know, it's who you are.
Right.
Like, I'm a vegan, therefore I go hang out with other vegans. I go to vegan restaurants. I hang out in vegan Facebook groups. Or I'm paleo, so I go to a CrossFit gym and I go to paleo restaurants.
You know, like the paleo or vegan lifestyle. It's really what it is, right?
So one of the things that, regardless of which lifestyle you chose, that we really want to just blow this one up for people is get enough protein.
Yay. Okay.
People do not understand that you cannot build bone, and I'm going to repeat it, you cannot, no way, no how, build bone unless you have a very specific amount of protein every day. And that's your ideal protein intake. They did studies when all things were the same. They supplemented with the same things. They got all of their nutrients in, but they didn't get enough protein. And those people lost bone
Density.
bone density. And the people over here who put in enough protein gained a lot of bone density very rapidly.
So
And
talk to me a little bit. So you said enough protein every single day. How much do we break that down?
Okay.
So
We're
we'll give
giving
everybody
a little
okay.
tip
So we
here.
do put it in the book, but it's the
Yes.
idea. It's called the ideal protein intake, and this is again based on science, based on Dr. Heaney's research, showing exactly how much you need minimum in order to get that high bone density. And it comes down. You take your body weight and you times it by 0.545. So body weight times 0.545.
And
So
that's
let's say
grams.
right. That's
That you
the
have
grams.
to take each day. So divided by however many meals you're going to eat,
Mhm.
and that's what you have to have. Now that some people want more if they're trying to build a lot of muscle, and it could be a higher.
Sure, it can
That's
be more.
your absolute minimum, which makes alkaline diets really, really tough and not great for bone health.
Yes. Yeah.
And it can be plant.
Yeah.
It can be plant. It can be whey. I don't care where you're getting your protein. Just you have to get it because your bone is 50% protein by volume. 50%.
Right.
People don't think about that.
And then so much of this research in the last few years is really coming out saying, right, the whole nutrient scope and the protein, super important, and the muscle related to, you've got to have the muscle strength and endurance in order to do a lot of the activity that will help with the bone. So it's related. It's not an isolated, let's just do this.
No. And we want the muscle because it gets so scary to fracture. I mean, that's really one of the scariest parts about osteoporosis is that people start to feel like they don't have balance and then they can't do things and they're going to fall. And if you get that muscle around your bones, you're going to feel more stable for a longer period as you age. And it's just so important to having a vibrant life.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we all should have seen. We should have realized that if it takes a certain amount of protein to build muscle, that when the body is scavenging that calcium and tearing down, like Myra said, tearing down that protein matrix that makes up more than 50% of the bone by volume to get the calcium out. Remember, it didn't just kind of wiggle its way in, take the calcium and leave everything else intact. It tears down that bone. That bone density is reduced. So when you need to build new bone, you need calcium and fresh protein. And now we know how much. And I think this is just revolutionary. The other thing I think that a lot of people don't talk about in these osteoporosis books, new science showing about how omega-3 and omega-6 levels are imperative to allowing your body, for you to be able to actually create the cells that build bone. So for example, one of the things in the book we talk about is you need to get enough omega-3. Now, a lot of times people say, oh, I got that covered. I'm taking my fish oil. No problem. I eat some fish once a couple times a week. Folks, that's not good enough. You're going to have to get what's called get an omega test. And sometimes they do this, doctors often, you can go and you can see what your ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 is. If your ratio is not 4-to-1 or less, meaning no more than 4-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3, and we want it more of a 1-to-1, you have too much omega-6. And what that means is omega-6 is inflammation causing and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when you have too much of that inflammation causing omega-6, it turns off your osteoblasts and turns on the osteoclast, right? That bone resorption breakdown cell. So it literally causes osteoporosis.
Explain the osteoblast and osteoclast, because they've heard that, but just in terms of breakdown and build up, how does that work?
Yeah. Well, so normally they're both important. You normally in a healthy body would have osteoblasts and osteoclasts working at a very even ratio so that your bone strength and density is staying the same. However, with osteoporosis, you get very aggressive osteoclasts breaking it down faster than the osteoblasts can build it up. Now, we get to train our body. The cool thing in this is you can actually train your fat cells to become osteoblasts and not osteoclasts simply by having more omega-3 than omega-6.
It's literally the decision the body is making. It's saying, should we build bone or should we build fat? And it's based on the omega-3, omega-6 ratio. And why we didn't see this before, I don't know.
Wait, what?
I said, I have the answer to that question.
It's so cool. It's like those train tracks where you can decide which way that should veer. And if your goal is to veer over here, make sure you have the omega-3. So we have a really cool thing in the book where someone can look at what they're eating every day. Like if you're eating olive oil, for every tablespoon of olive oil, you need 2 fish oil capsules. 2.
Wow.
For every 3.5 ounces of almonds, you need 12 fish oil capsules.
Pay attention, flipping 50
right. For every 3.5 ounces of sesame seed.
Yes, incessantly. Yes.
Yeah, for seeds, you needed 37.
For sesame seeds, 3.5 ounces. That's it.
Wow.
When Myra says 2 fish oil pills for 1 tablespoon of olive oil, or for olive oil, nobody uses 1 olive oil on there, 1 tablespoon of olive oil on their side. They put 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So all of a sudden, it's
impossible. Mediterranean. Let's do it all, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just being aware, because if that's your goal, you need to be aware of what your body's doing, and what you're eating really affects your bones. So it's just, we give people all these, so that was one of the healing habits right there.
Yeah,
so
that's a great one.
Yeah.
Dr. Calton, can you answer this? So you said ideally no more than like 1 to 4, ideally less, but at one point the average was 1 to 20. Where do most people ride right now?
Well, we're seeing a 24-to-1 on average now, and as high as 36-to-1. So that's why we want you to have that omega check done, because if you're way up there, then there's almost no chance. And again, it's not just about supplementing with the omega-3. It's really about driving down the omega-6
intake.
I don't really and truly, I don't want you out there, nor would you want to be able to afford to or want to swallow 10, 12, 15 of these pills like you'd have to every day in order to get to the ratio. We want you to drive the omega-6 level down. That means knowing what omega-6 is. What foods is it in? How much is in there? What do I have to take out of my diet now? Choose to take out. Now, that doesn't mean that, let's say you're a vegan and nuts and seeds are allowed on your dietary protocol. That's fine, but while you're trying to rebuild your bone, we want to get rid of the foods within your protocol or greatly limit them that have this high omega-6, because what we're trying to do is help you achieve this good balance of omega-3 to omega-6. We're not saying those foods are bad, or we're not saying you can't go back to eating them once in a while in the future. But while we're doing this, don't keep putting in all those omega-6 rich foods and thinking, well, I'm taking a fish oil pill. This is why people scratch their head and say, I'm doing everything right. Why aren't I seeing better bone density?
Because you're not doing everything right.
Wow.
And the only thing people don't know is omega-6 blocks omega-3. So even if you are taking in a whole bunch of fish oil pills,
Good point.
capsules, if your omega-6 levels are still high, all of it won't go into your body. It cannot do its job to fight it, because omega-6 will literally block the omega-3. There's competition between the two. So it's just, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a really exciting science, because once we understand it, then we're like, okay, now I get it. It's not like I was doing everything wrong. I knew to get my omega-3 up. I knew to exercise a certain way. I knew that I probably should have more protein than I'm taking in, but I didn't know how much, and I didn't really know the actual science behind it. And like Myra said, now that we are giving you these 40 healing habits that have literally been clinically proven to increase bone density, and you're going to kind of link each one together, almost like chainmail armor that are going to help protect your bones as you build them. Now it's kind of like, well, this is becoming so easy to reverse and prevent osteoporosis, because we know all the pain points that we were missing before.
So good. Okay, so bottom line is get the book, started on the protocol. But I want you to tease, you have some amazing bonuses, some gifts that you're giving away. Will you talk about those just a little bit? Because this makes it like tie it with a bow. It's just like silly.
Absolutely, because the book is going to cost someone $20. Like it's $20 at the bookstore. You can buy it wherever you want. But then you bring the receipt to us, and you'll have a link for where they can bring that receipt.
Yeah.
Bring it over there, and they get all these amazing gifts worth over $500. So there's like a water filter, $300 off. There are $150 off the water filter, $300 off an air filter. Because smog is one of the things. All of the gifts have to do with the 40 healing habits.
Right.
So we're supporting the people's decision to read the book and to make these small but effective changes in their life. So for example, we don't want toxic body products. So Primal Life Organics, they came forward and said, I'm going to give you a gift certificate. I'm going to give you a coupon for all these people to use. So there's that. And then they also get some amazing downloads. They get a 63-page book that we put together about every single micronutrient and what it does for your bones, how to find it, what foods to look for, everything. And they also get to join us in our Facebook room to discuss osteoporosis and to get some coaching while they're going through the program for the first year for free. So that's another $100 value.
Right. I mean, I think the best value is, and she didn't even mention it, is that like she said, the retail cost of the book is $26.95. Although, like she said, it's like 18 something on Amazon, so you can buy it for that. But we're going to give you the full retail value of the book, $26.95, as a coupon in our store that you can come in and buy any Calton Nutrition product you want, over $50, and we're just going to take the $26.95 right off. So even if you just open the book, read a page, close it, never pick it up again, as long as you're going to be buying nutrients or any of the products that you might want to use,
you save money.
You've actually saved money.
Yes.
Right. So it's not only the $26.95, we actually give you $50 to spend in our store. So that's one of the things that we also give you money towards testing. If you want to get that omega check that we were talking about earlier, we're giving you $25 off of that.
Yep.
So there's lots of great gifts.
Yep.
Oh, they're amazing. That's amazing. So everybody in the Flipping 50 tribe who's done a program, you're already using nutrients. So this is a no-brainer, right? So, all right. Both of you, thanks so much. Is there one more question that I should have asked you about the book or the protocol that you want to share?
Well, if you want to, we can talk a little bit, if you want to, about nutrients and the anti-competition technology that was really able to help Mira reverse her osteoporosis. Now, I don't know how much you people know about it.
How effective it is for, how it really is effective for osteoporosis because of the research that we did.
Yeah. Would you like to do that?
Let's do that. We've got about 4 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So tell them a little bit about what you feel about the anti-competition, about helping you.
Well, I'll put it in a nutshell. The reason that is so important is that everyone knows there's while all the micronutrients must be present for bone health, A to Z across the board, there are certain key players. We all know that. Calcium, magnesium. They compete for a receptor site. Go to any bone supplement out there right now, and they are both in there together. When they're in there together, you are not going to get the benefits of the calcium and the magnesium because they are competitive nutrients. Same is true of D and K.
So let me explain this simply to my audience.
Perfect.
This is like musical chairs. Musical chairs are your receptors. There's only so many chairs and not everybody gets to sit down. So that's what we mean by competing. Micronutrients are competing with each other for those places to sit down so they can be absorbed.
Absolutely. And there's so many. D and K was another one. Most multivitamins don't even put K2 in there. You'll learn in the book there is no getting around K2 for bone building. It is like one of the key players. And not only that, if you put the wrong form of K2 anywhere near calcium or magnesium, it will be degraded by the time that product gets to you. There is only one form of K2 called K2 Vital Delta that when put into a supplement does not degrade when next to the minerals.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that this was, and I just want to really point this out. When we were starting to help Mira reverse her osteoporosis, this was brand new science, right? Brand new science. It was just coming out in medical journals about the competitions in minerals back in those days. Now we understand these micronutrient antagonisms a lot more. But in a multivitamin, a typical multivitamin, 88% of the individual ingredients compete in that gastrointestinal tract, like you said, for chairs or receptor sites. So if you, the number one thing, if you do nothing else, in the book, we give you the list of which supplements you should take together and which ones you shouldn't because of these competitions, if nothing more. Just use that list to separate the ones that are competitive so you could at least absorb them. So, I mean, that's our little talk on that. We can go into more on that in the future if you'd like.
That is golden right there. So, and I can tell that everybody in my tribe that was like, okay, here's how you would do it if you want to do it yourself. But I would look at the two of you and say, just do it for me. Well, the nutrients way already.
It's really horrible to try to do it yourself, I'll tell you, because it feels all day long. And also, everyone's not a chemist. Luckily, I have Jayson. We had whiteboards for 6 years coming up with the formulation. You don't really want to do that.
Both of you, thanks so much. First of all, for being here, but most of all, for the book.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Deborah.
We're so excited to share our baby.
It is so awesome. I can't think of a better thing. And I will be the first in line, but everyone out there, this would be a great partner with Stronger. If you've done the Stronger program or you're doing it this time, grab this book. Super partnership. Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.